All right, President Trump announcing a major trade deal, as we mentioned, with the Indian Prime Minister Modi. It happened yesterday. They are saying India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil and will instead start buying more from the U.S. or even from Venezuela. Let's bring in Robert Wolf, former economic advisor to President Obama and a Fox News contributor, as well as Dan Greehaus, chief strategist at Solus Alternative Asset Management. Welcome to both of you. Good news on a deal, Robert?
Great news. I mean, I was critical of the president of Davos with his nationalist approach, and I was concerned that the UK and Canada and South Korea was doing deals with China, and India was doing a deal with the EU. So this idea that the president got this type of deal done is great news. And more importantly, the idea that we're going to stop the inflow of cash into Russia for oil trade is just, probably even more critical.
We had Caroline Levitt join us, Dan, from the White House just moments ago. She said this on the details of the deal. Listen.
I know he particularly enjoys their relationship and has a deep respect for the Prime Minister and for his country of India. They had a great call. It was very productive yesterday, and they struck a deal in which India has agreed to stop purchasing Russian oil, to buy more American oil from the United States of America, and potentially from Venezuela, too. As you know, the president and his national security team are now dictating the commerce of Venezuela and those oil sales. So this directly benefits the American people as well. This is a great deal and a huge win for American workers, businesses, and consumers alike.
How does the market view this? To stop buying Russian oil, India, President Trump has sort of teased that this would be coming. How big of a deal is it now that it's happening?
It is a big deal. It's important to put this in context. Russia's exporting 5 million barrels a day of crude oil. India, post-COVID, has become a huge purchaser of that oil on the order of, call it, 1 to 2 million barrels per day. So to the extent that Russia is, for lack of a better word, getting around the price cap and the sanctions that we put on them, India has facilitated that. Now, I don't mean to suggest they're doing something nefarious. We know that they're doing it, and apparently the United States, sort of with a wink and a nod, said it was okay. But it is a huge chunk of Russia's oil, and so that oil is going to have to go somewhere or nowhere.
Well, it's a fair point. And then how do you track that this is actually happening? There will have to be, obviously, Robert, a process. Modi says he's delighted by the tariff reduction. President Trump talking about their warm relationship and that call that he had with Modi. He also said this will help end the war in Ukraine. So as far as the deals are concerned, how is the market viewing this?
Listen, I think it's going to be really telling what China does. Now that the president has really cut off Venezuela oil to China, the question is, will China pick up the Russian oil that they now lose with India? So, I mean, listen, this is the axis of evil we're talking about, and the idea that we can trust anything is little. I'm certainly glad that Modi and President Trump has cut a deal, especially where I think it's 18% for India, but I think on like $500 billion, it's 0% into us. Yeah. So I think that should help a lot, hopefully, with Buy America.
As far as midterm elections coming, tariffs obviously has been a concern for some voters. Robert, you've talked about the way this sits in a lot of American voters' minds, despite anything that has actually happened, that it is viewed negatively by some American voters. This reduces the U.S. tariff rate, as Robert was mentioning, on India goods to 18% from 50%. Okay, that's obviously a big change. India halts its Russian oil purchases, and India commits to buying more than $500 billion in U.S. energy. So can you weigh in politically how this may be viewed as we head closer to the midterm elections?
Yeah, with the context of politics, and I think Robert would agree, what matters is the price of gasoline at the pump. And so to the extent that we are somehow able to, this way or another way, get prices at the pump down, then politically that's always a benefit to the party in power. I would just note, as I say that the price of gasoline right now is already pretty low. And so we'll have to see exactly how this deal comes into effect, when it comes into effect, how much oil gets shifted around. As Robert noted, you do have China that can pick up some of the slack here. But ultimately, from a politics standpoint, you want to look at that national price of unleaded gasoline, because that tells you a lot about consumer sentiment heading into midterms.
$2.80 versus over $3 a year ago affects a lot of voters. Final thought from you, Robert?
I mean, listen, no question, gasoline has been front and center. You guys have touted it. My bigger concern with tariffs is, I think there was a data last week by the Federal Reserve, something like 90% of all tariffs were paid by importers. That is U.S. companies. If that is factual, then people are upset about that. That's why you have someone like Costco suing. So my view has always been no across-the-board tariffs. It should always be a blunt instrument, whether it was Biden, Obama, and Trump. So I just don't like the.
I will just add real quick, the president did just put an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and pointed to a separate study that said there was a little bit more of a balance between who was bearing the tariff. So I think that probably the weight of the evidence comes down on Robert's side, but there is a bit of a debate who's paying these tariffs and to what degree.
Well, actual market reaction was that Dow hit all-time highs today. I mean, it is.
That's good.
It just keeps on going. Thanks to both of you for being here. Appreciate it. All right, John.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.